One half of football is never enough to judge a player. We can all agree on that, right? Well, there is one player who might have just broken that rule fairly recently. Jeremy Jacquet, the 21-year-old French centre-back, had Anfield on its feet during our final pre-season friendly. He even got the crowd singing a chant with his name. You do not see that happening often, especially when it is a young player making his first ever appearance in a new shirt, in a new country, after being sidelined for almost half a season because of injury. So what we did here at Panenka was watch every single action Jacquet made during those 45 minutes. We looked at his positioning, how he defended, and how he reacted to different situations throughout the half. And after going through all of it, we're going to share what we found with you. So hit that like and subscribe button, and let us jump straight into the video. So, Jacquet did not wait long to showcase what he was all about. With the first kick of the game, well, maybe the third, the Frenchman already showed us just how composed and calm he is on the ball. The game started with a long kick from Jeremy himself, which the Como defender cleared with his head. Szoboszlai then got a touch on that header, sending the ball over our back line, and here, just from the way Jacquet is standing, you can tell that he is fully locked on. Despite Szoboszlai making an unexpected deflection, you can see Jeremy standing in a side-on stance. That means he is ready to defend both ways and can turn quicker without losing his footwork. He obviously wins the foot race without any issues, but this is where things get interesting. Where other defenders making their debut might choose the simple and safer option, Jeremy goes on to show off his composure on the ball. He does not play the ball back to his goalkeeper, and then you look at the situation. It actually makes a lot of sense. The ball is bouncing, so an overhit pass could easily lead to a corner, while an underhit pass could put the striker into a 1v1 with the goalkeeper. Instead, Jeremy cushions the ball with his right foot and leaves the Como striker chasing shadows. After that subtle use of his arm to fend off the presser, you would think Jacquet has done enough and would simply play the pass and move on. Well, that was not the case. The defender knows that another player is coming quickly to press him, but he does not panic. Instead, he takes a little touch against the presser's momentum, sends him packing, and then switches the play all the way to the right for Frimpong. And remember, this was the first few seconds in a Liverpool shirt. Yet, right from the start, Jacquet was already showing that he was not going to be rushed into making decisions. See, another young defender playing for a new club in a new country and in a new stadium for the first time would probably have made some totally different decisions, especially under pressure. Jeremy, however, looked like he had been at the club for years, and his next action only confirms it. Como had the ball here as they were trying to build out from the back. Notice this player here. He is trying to fool Gravenberch and get out of his cover in order to receive the ball and become an outlet for the player on the ball. And then here comes Jeremy. He recognizes the free player straight away and decides to jump out. But notice how he does not come in at full speed. Instead, he slows himself down and readjusts his position based on the attacker's movement. This is important because if he simply rushed towards him, the attacker could use his momentum against him, take a touch around him, and suddenly be in behind. Jeremy does not give him that chance. He approaches with his arm on the player's back to unbalance him slightly, stays close enough to challenge, and then sticks a leg in at the right moment to knock the ball away. It is a small defensive action, but there is a lot to like here. He recognizes the danger early, closes the space without overcommitting, and uses his body well to make the challenge without giving the referee a reason to stop the play. For a young centre-back making his first appearance, that level of control is exactly what stood out throughout his half. Again, this is something you would expect from a much more experienced player. He's not driven by the atmosphere, and he does not let the moment dictate his decision. Instead of rushing in from behind, he keeps everything calculated. He applies just enough pressure on the ball, stays patient, and waits for the right window to intervene. And then we see the exact same thing in the next sequence. Once again, he is side on, ready to defend both ways and turn quickly if needed. He takes a quick glance and recognizes that Van Dijk is following the other striker. Now comes the decision. There is no pressure on the ball, so should he jump forward and commit himself? Or should he stay patient and look to delay the attack? Jeremy chooses the second option. He twists around and starts jockeying with those little steps, trying to force the attack in one direction. Look at his body position here. His knees are bent, his shoulders are above his toes, and he is not leaning back. That means he is in control of his weight and ready to react to whatever the forward does next. And then the forward takes the loose touch. That is the window Jeremy was waiting for. He immediately lunges in, makes himself as big as possible, and wins the ball back. What I really like here is that he never overcommits. He does not dive in early and leave the rest of the backline vulnerable. He keeps readjusting, calculates his moves, waits for the mistake, and then reacts perfectly to his opponent. For a centre-back, that patience is so important. Defending is not always about winning the ball as quickly as possible. Sometimes it's about making the attacker feel like he has more time and space than he actually does, before taking it away from him at the right moment. And that is exactly what Jacquet does here. Timing his intervention, using his body, and never selling himself. These were all incredible traits Jeremy showed during the first 45 minutes with the club, and the following sequence shows all of them exceptionally well. First, look at the subtle little nudges he uses to unbalance his opponent. Nothing too obvious, just enough contact to make the attacker uncomfortable. He then waits for the right moment before using that long leg of his to poke the ball away. And even after winning it back, he is not done. Look at how he uses his arm to protect himself from the pressure, while also manipulating the ball with his feet to create enough space to escape. He does not panic, he does not rush the pass, and he does not allow the pressure to force him into a bad decision. It's another sequence where every little detail matters. The timing, the body positioning, the use of his arm, and then the control of the ball all come together. For a young centre-back playing his first 45 minutes for the club, these are some seriously impressive habits to already have. Jeremy also showed great moments of last-ditch defending inside the box. Here, he takes a quick glance to scan his surroundings before reading the opponent's pass. He times his step perfectly with the ball and moves across to the second player. Again, he does not overcommit, which is especially important inside the box because one mistimed challenge could easily result in a penalty. Instead, he makes himself as big as possible, tries to force the attacker away from a dangerous area, and waits for the right moment to get his right foot around the ball and scoop it away. And just a few minutes later, he makes another crucial block. Again, notice the side-on stance. He is ready to sprint backwards if the attacker gets in behind, while also keeping himself in a position where he can react to the ball. He notices the attacker and matches his run, all while keeping his shoulders facing the crosser. That detail is important. By keeping his body positioned this way, when the cross comes in and tries to block or intercept it, there is a less chance of the ball taking a dangerous deflection towards his own goal. And that is exactly what happens. Jeremy reads the delivery, reacts to it, and lunges in at the perfect moment to get something on the ball and stop the attack. Again, it's not just about making the block, it's about everything he does before the block that puts him in the right position to make it. Jeremy had a flawless 45 minutes in this friendly game, and even with the ball, he showed a real willingness to take the game forward. There were moments where he could have easily played the safe pass and stayed in his position, but instead, he looked to move the ball forward whenever the opportunity was there. Watch our post-game analysis to see how one of his passes opened the path for Frimpong to drive forward and carry the attack into the final third. But it was not only about his passing. Jeremy also showed a willingness to move after releasing the ball, constantly looking to create new options for his teammate. He would pass, then immediately reposition himself to give the player on the ball another option. And so after going through the most important actions Jeremy Jacquet made during those 45 minutes, it is easy to understand why the Anfield crowd quickly took a liking to him. His timing, composure, body positioning, and willingness to defend without overcommitting were all impressive. But what stood out at the most was how comfortable he looked in every single situation. Of course, this was only one half of one friendly game, so we cannot draw any big conclusions just yet. But if this is a sign of what Jeremy can bring to Liverpool, then we could have a very exciting player on our hands. That's it from us for today. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want more, then please do hit the like button and hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you all next time. Take care.